Hi, I'm Luce Bratcher, and today I'm going to teach you how to make watercolor sketchbooks. These are a great last-minute stocking stuffer, I love you present, activity to do with some of the kids or for the kids in your life. They're super simple to make, unique, and I hope you enjoy making them as much as I enjoy teaching you how to make them. So let's get started. So let's talk about supplies. First, you'll need some watercolor paper and one of the three options: Winsor Newton Indigo watercolor paint, a black Crayola marker, or some fountain pen ink, a paintbrush, a pencil, some tacky glue, something to cut with like an X-Acto knife or scissors, a ruler, and some thin cardboard. I've also forgot to note, you'll also need salt, water, and paper towels. So step one is to make a form. So this will make it easier to cut out and measure the shapes that you'll need for your sketchbook. Something that's postcard sized or a photo is also great if you are like me and a little bit lazy and don't want to measure everything out perfectly. You can just use a postcard to start things off. So here I'm tracing on the cardboard, and these two pieces are going to be the covers. And you'll also use them to measure later on. So then you're going to want to cut them out. Unlike me, make sure that your X-Acto blades are nice and sharp. Otherwise you're going to struggle a little bit. If you're doing this with kids, make sure to watch them to make sure that nobody loses a finger during this process. You can also cut it out using scissors, which is great because then you can also use them to trim excess pieces like this. So next you're going to want to trace that cover onto your watercolor paper. So these are going to be the covers you're going to decorate. I've got 3 sets on here because I'm going to demonstrate 3 different types of covers you can make. So now we're going to start painting. So first is the Crayola marker. Now I love these. They are so great for doing just big, bold marks. You can be really expressive. And because they're water soluble, they also act like watercolor paint. So this one's really easy to do with kids especially, or if you're just getting to learn water media, this is a nice intro to that. Once you've got all your shapes down, then you can go at it with just straight water. You can paint over the lines that you've made or fill them in, create little textures, just go crazy. This is a great opportunity to be creative. One note, you just want to make sure that your shapes are outside the lines that you've drawn on. That'll help make the covers feel a little bit more polished. And then at the end, I sprinkled some salt onto it to create some additional texture. You can use kosher salt, table salt, doesn't really matter. It'll all do kind of the same. It'll look like little stars. For this next one, I'm using watercolor paint. So first cover the entire area with just solid water. And then you're going to mix up your paint to about the consistency of cream using paint and water. You want it to be a little bit thicker since you're painting onto a wet surface. And in this case, I'm just kind of creating uneven lines. I think it looks kind of like shibori dyeing. I think it's really pretty. It's my favorite color to work with. Added a little bit more salt. And then the last one is going to be similar to the watercolor cover. What I'm going to do is paint some wet rectangles across the area and just make sure that there's like a little strip of dry area in between. As you can see, I still have a little paint on my brush, which is okay. It's perfect for being able to kind of see where those areas are right now. So dip into the ink just straight out and paint in on the dry areas in between the wet rectangles. It just bleeds out into such cool patterns. And again, it's a little bit random, but it creates such a unique result that I love what it's doing. There I was just adding a little bit of water on top to create extra blooms, and then I added a little bit of salt. Next, let's talk about the inside paper. So you can use watercolor paper if you're making something that's more of a sketchbook, but you can also use pretty much anything you've got on hand, from printer paper, or in this case, I'm going to make one more sketchbook out of a Prime Now bag, which is super fun. Nice way to make something that's useful, but not super precious. So to make the insides, you're going to take your form and use that to trace out where the pages are going to be. So you're going to be creating an accordion notebook. So each of these pages will kind of fold in and out. So you can make these strips as long as you want. As long as they're long and the same height as the form, you can make them, you can make the sketchbook as big as you want. In order to join the pieces together, I'm going to show you a little trick here. So either by design or by necessity, you'll just end up with a little bit of a notch. Doesn't have to be super big, just enough to be able to glue the sheets together. So just continue out and tracing. You want these lines to be kind of thin because you'll want to erase them later on. Next, you'll want to cut those sheets out and then create some scoring lines. I've got a special tool for this, but you can use like the dull end of a butter knife or scissors. A worn out or empty dry pen is also perfect. But this just helps to fold the thicker paper a little bit better. And then you don't have to worry about measuring each page. So you're just scoring along the pencil lines that you made. And again, folding in a zigzag shape. And then when you're ready to join the two pieces of paper together, here I'm just making sure that I'm joining the pages in a way that continues that zigzag shape. I've definitely glued the wrong pages together before. You'll just want to add a little bit of glue to that tab, and then using like a credit card or a business card, just spread it around. Make sure that it gets all the way to the edges so that it lays flat when you're opening the sketchbook later on and it doesn't peel up. Here's the covers dried. Doesn't that Crayola marker look so cool? I love all of that pink and blue and kind of some greeny grays in there. The Indigo watercolor paint just blooms so nicely. You can see with the fountain pen ink that the color starts to separate. It's so fun to work with. Next, you're going to cut out the covers. And so again, you can use scissors or an X-Acto knife. Again, watch your hands. The next best thing to a custom-made gift is making sure that you have all your fingers. There's the finished covers. Turned out really nicely. Now, to start making them into actual covers, you're going to glue the painted pieces on top of the cardboard. So again, this is where having newspaper or wax paper to protect your table will be helpful because you're going to get glue everywhere. Make sure that you're spreading the glue all the way to the edges, and that will help it feel a little bit more polished and make sure that the cover doesn't peel away from the back of it. And just press down to make sure that they secure together. I'm using some fast dry tacky glue, and it dries fast. So depending on what you have, you may have to work quickly. If I was using regular tacky glue, I'd probably let this dry overnight. Sometimes that cardboard can slip around. But with this fast, quick dry tacky glue, able to move on to the next section right away. So I'm going to glue the covers to the innards. So again, I'm going to take a little bit of packing material to protect that inside cover so I don't end up gluing the pages together, which again, I have done many times in this process. So learn from my mistakes. Go ahead and Again, move that glue to all of the edges. This is really an exercise in gluing things evenly. But that packing paper, you can see, helps protect the inside of the sheets really well. Because the glue is wet, you can kind of adjust the cover to make sure that it's sent on there squarely, and then repeat for the back cover. And then once it's all assembled, you're going to want to put it under some books overnight to dry. And that'll make sure that it dries nice and flat. Here you see my work from home buddy who wanted to see what I was doing. So again, oh, here's an important tip. You can use tissue paper. I think this is something from a present. I slipped it inside the cover and over the cover on both sides. And that just makes sure that it protects the book and the books that are weighting it down. And here's the final results. This is the one that I made with the Prime Day bag. Here's the watercolor paper. And this one's the Crayola marker with printer paper inside. Perfect for note-taking. I hope you enjoyed that. Just wanted to also follow up with a couple of other ideas that you can do if you wanted to try a couple of other things. This activity is great for reusing kids' artwork. If you have any handmade paper or ornaments, you can always cover the covers with just about anything. Could be pieces of newspaper comics. My dad always wrapped Christmas presents in the Wall Street Journal, so you could do a little bit of that as well. And the same goes for the inside as well. You can use just about any paper that you've got on hand. I have some really precious memories making these books with a babysitter, and we used just the inside of, I think, classified ads. And that was something that was really special to me. You can also bind the edges off if you're not wanting to do the full zigzag. You can use both sides of the sketchbook. If you want it to be more book-like, then you can use just like a little bit of washi tape, or if you've got some fun duct tape, you just put it on the edges either side, and then that helps it to have more of a book-like effect, or a map mess, depending on who you are, namely me. Anyhow, I thank you for joining today, and I look forward to seeing all the unique and creative sketchbooks you make today. And here's to making. Cheers!